Did Dave have to like hold back on his drumming?
Oh yeah, totally. We were like telling him, oh, we're gonna wrap you in a glass capsule. And but then when he found these weird sticks he can use and he got him a small drum set, he's doing really good.
Nirvana Unplugged in New York is a live acoustic album. The performance was recorded at Sony Music Studios in New York City on November 18, 1993, and released 1 year later in November of 1994. It was the first album released by Nirvana following the death of their lead singer and frontman Kurt Cobain in April of 1994. The album contains 14 tracks, with Nirvana playing mainly lesser-known material and covers of songs by The Vaselines, David Bowie, Leadbelly, and the Meat Puppets. The Nirvana Unplugged show was first broadcast on MTV in December of 1993. The broadcast was only 45 minutes long and did not contain the songs Something in the Way and Oh Me. After Cobain was found dead in April of 1994, MTV aired the episode repeatedly. To meet demand for new Nirvana material, in August of 1994, DGC announced a double album, Verse, Chorus, Verse, with one side containing various live performances from the band and another side including the entire MTV Unplugged performance. However, the task of compiling this double album was too emotionally difficult for their surviving band members, so the project was cancelled a week after the announcement. Instead, Novoselic and Grohl opted to release just the Unplugged performance. Scott Litt, who had produced the performance and had worked with Nirvana before on their record In Utero, returned to produce the record. The album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and sold 310,000 copies in its first week. This was the highest first week sales of Nirvana's career. The Unplugged album was certified 5 times platinum in 1997, and it won the Grammy Award for Best Alternative Music Album at the 38th Grammy Awards.
We shot the show and it was beautiful, and after the rehearsal, one of the MTV executives came up to me and said, I'm not sure if they're playing enough hits. Could you talk to Kurt about doing Smells Like Teen Spirit? And I said, no, that's great music, and if you want him to play Smells Like Teen Spirit, you need to go ask him, because I'm not going to. The night of the show was just really magical. It was so amazing, and it was everything they did was so great. I mean, having the Meat Puppets on and doing that Bowie cover's unbelievable, and that Leadbelly, I mean, In the Pines just gave me chills every time I saw him perform that song.
It was while touring with the Meat Puppets, who had opened 7 shows for Nirvana in October of 1993, that Kurt finally decided to go ahead with the show. He even invited Kurt and Chris Kirkwood from the Meat Puppets to play 3 songs with Nirvana on the Unplugged set. The idea of playing a stripped-down show had made Kurt nervous. Kurt was really nervous, remembered Novoselic. Others were more direct. He was terrified, observed production manager Jeff Mason. Kurt was consistently late for rehearsal, and the day before taping he announced he wasn't playing. However, MTV was used to this ploy. He did it just to get us worked up, said MTV employee Amy Finnerty. On the afternoon of the show, Kurt did arrive, despite threats of not showing up. Jeff Mason stated, there was no joking, no smiles, no fun coming from him. Therefore, everyone was more than a little concerned about the performance. Kurt Kirkwood was worried because they hadn't rehearsed an entire set. We played the songs through a few times, but never a rehearsal set. There was never any concerted practice. Kurt was complaining about how poorly he felt and how he wanted some KFC, which was immediately located for him. Kurt had suggested Stargazer lilies, black candles, and a crystal chandelier. When Unplugged producer Alex Coletti asked, "You mean like a funeral?" Kurt said that was exactly what he meant. He had selected a set of 14 songs that included 6 covers. All of the cover songs mentioned or referenced death. It wasn't exactly unplugged, since Nirvana used amps and drums, albeit with pads and brushes. A more accurate title was suggested by Jeff Mason. They should have called it Nirvana Toned Down. For the first song of the night, Nirvana played About a Girl, with Cobain stating, "This is off our first record, most people don't own it," referring to Nirvana's debut album, Bleach. Before playing the David Bowie cover, The Man Who Sold the World, Kurt stated, "I guarantee you I will screw this song up." The song went down flawlessly, with Cobain stating afterward, "I didn't screw it up, did I? But here's another one I could screw up," referring to the next song, Pennyroyal Tea. For Pennyroyal Tea, Kurt asked the rest of the band,
"Am I gonna do this by myself?"
What is it?
The band had never managed to finish a rehearsal of the song. "Do it by yourself," Grohl suggested, and it sounded awesome. After performing Plateau, Oh Me, and Lake of Fire with the Meat Puppets, the band went on to play the final track from their In Utero record, All Apologies. And this led into what would be the final song of the night, a Lead Belly cover, Where Did You Sleep Last Night? Before playing the song, Kurt told the story of how he considered buying Lead Belly's guitar for $500,000, although the price here was said to be exaggerated by Cobain. This rendition of Where Did You Sleep Last Night was full of power and passion, undoubtedly the highlight of the night and a great way to close the set. As he left the stage, there was yet another argument with MTV's producers. They wanted an encore. Kurt knew he couldn't top what he'd already done. Backstage, the rest of the band was exhilarated by the performance, though Kurt still seemed unsure. Chris told him, "You did a great job up there, man." Cobain eventually did come around, saying to MTV's Amy Finnerty, "I was really good tonight, wasn't I?" It was the only time she ever heard him admit to his own skill. In the end, the 14-song set list included 1 song from their debut album Bleach, 4 songs from their second album Nevermind, 3 tracks from the recently released In Utero, and 6 cover songs. Meaning that the only contemporary hit that the band performed that night was the Nevermind single, Come As You Are.
So we finished shooting, the audience lit it out. Kurt came into the control room because he wanted to see some of it. And we rolled a couple of songs, and he said, "Everything looks great." And he said, but there's some moments where I'm smiling, and I'd like you to put them in the show. And I said, "Oh, the lighter side of Kurt Cobain?" And he went, "My manager told me to," and then walked out. And I thought I upset him, but he ended up loving it and was really hilarious. And we looked through the footage of his close-up, and there's literally one song where after the song he goes like this and does this crazy fake smile, and we put it in the show. He was clearly appeasing his management.
For its 25th anniversary in 2019, Nirvana Unplugged in New York was released as a double LP set and included 5 rehearsal performances previously only available on DVD. The album was pressed on both limited edition colored vinyl and standard 180-gram black vinyl and packaged in a gatefold jacket featuring anniversary silver foil detail on the front and back cover. The green cardigan Kurt was wearing that night went up for auction in October of 2019. It was the 25th anniversary of the release of Unplugged, and the cardigan sold for an astonishing $334,000 at auction. It was stated at the auction, "It's very important that we don't wash it, and the stains are still there. There's even cigarette burns that you can see on the sweater." So that is one heck of a lot of money to get for that green cardigan that Kurt was wearing at the Unplugged show, but it would be a really cool piece of memorabilia to own. For any Nirvana fan to say, "Damn, I now have that green cardigan that Kurt was wearing at the show," watching him on TV wearing it and then saying, "Hey, I have that now," something that he wore. That'd be pretty cool. And to see how much it sold for, $334,000, damn, just shows how much it meant to one lucky fan. That would be a prized possession to own, no doubt. So, looking at the show as a whole, it was a really good performance, a really solid performance by Nirvana. They were totally out of their element. They usually play loud and heavy rock. However, they were totally stripped down for this concert. But what you got to see here with Nirvana being stripped down just to their acoustic guitars was Kurt's voice really shone through. His singing was just unreal on this night, really powerful. The most obvious example is on the final song they did for the night, Where Did You Sleep Last Night? I mean, that thing's just, whoa, it just blows your mind. That is truly epic. But he was very good too on the 3 Meat Puppet songs, Plateau, Oh Me, and Lake of Fire. Unreal singing in those tracks as well. Had such a really cool rock voice. Really good quality. Now, they hardly played any hit songs at all, which MTV were quite mad about. They really wanted to hear those Nirvana hits, but Kurt just didn't want to play them. You had Come As You Are very early on in the set, like the second song, and that was like pretty much the main big hit, the only big hit they really played. Of course, there were some other Nirvana classics on there, such as All Apologies, Penny Royalty, Polly, and more. But Kurt and Nirvana just didn't want to play the hits that night. In fact, of the 14 songs played, there was like 8 originals and 6 cover songs, so it was real close to a 50-50 split there, real cover heavy. So an interesting choice Nirvana made there. But they were never one for trying to please company executives and stuff like that. They always pretty much just did their own thing. And I think people liked them and respected them for that. And there are some really awesome clips from the Unplugged show on Nirvana's official YouTube channel. You gotta check them out. They've got like unedited versions of the songs and rehearsals and everything on there, so I'll put a link to that channel down below and you can check those out. They show like way more than the original concert footage did. You've got like heaps of like talking from the band, Kurt making jokes and going back and forth with the audience, just heaps of random stuff, the band talking between themselves. It's really cool stuff. So yeah, overall, this is a really high quality concert. It's great music. Was done only just about 5 months before Kurt passed away. Was done in around November of 1993, and then was released like a year later in November of 94, around 7 months after Kurt had passed, so there was one hell of a lot of meaning on the release of this album. And as I mentioned earlier on in the video, it was actually going to be like a double album. This was going to be one side, and the other side was going to be, you know, loud, live, and heavy, so to speak, so they just couldn't do it. It was just too much for them at that time after Kurt had passed. So they just ended up releasing the Unplugged as an album. And that's the story, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks heaps as always for tuning in. Got a ton of other behind the album videos looking at Nirvana's music all the way from Bleach right up to In Utero, so be sure to check those out too. Take it easy, guys, and we're going to catch you next time here on Dude Man Productions.